Hello everyone, welcome back to another week of Heuristics Science Facebook Live. I'm Ms Sayuri and I will be your host for tonight. Okay, now long time no see. Okay, I hope that if you are preparing for your PSLE, all has been well. So I see that some of you are, taking your prelim, okay? And if you didn't do too well, that's actually okay because at least you have your prelim paper to see how you do and hopefully brush up all the common mistakes and also the weak topics that you have in order to do a little bit better, okay, if not a lot better for your PSLE. Okay, can? All right, so currently we are live, and if you are in the house, can you please say hello so that I know that you are here? Okay, if you're in the house, just say hi. I will pin you up on the chat. Anyone in? Okay, now if you are looking for today's worksheet, it is in our Telegram group. So if you haven't joined our Telegram group yet, please let me know. I will drop you the link. And then you can actually download the worksheet from there. Okay, all right. So let's begin. So today, right, we have some common questions that are actually it is not difficult, but students always get it wrong. So I just want to iron out the mistakes that you all have written and just present the answering technique for such question. Okay, so I'm sure you have seen it. You have seen it, and it's like you see the question you don't see it. Are you that student that still cannot get 2 marks for that question? Okay, because if the entire Singapore, we're talking about PSLE students this year, the entire Singapore can do that question because it's so commonly tested. You cannot be that student. I always tell my students, you cannot be that student that do not know how to do that question. You know what I mean? Okay, so currently, right, let's actually talk about the first question. So here we have Raghu. Raghu wanted to find out if the number of roots on the plant affects the amount of water absorbed by the plant. Okay, so standard question. You have seen this forever. This is even in P3, you might see this most of the time P4, and here amount of roots, right? So we're gonna highlight this. Okay, this is the aim, and inside the aim, right, I always take another like if you underline, you box up. If you highlight, you underline, up to you. Okay, so this one over here is your change variable. ECV for short, and then after that affects the amount of water absorbed by the plant. Now here, that is your measured variable. And over here, right, the measured variable is also slightly different. They did say that the way to measure how much water is being absorbed by the plant, because you can't talk to the plant can tell you, I actually absorb 50 ml of water, like that, right? So to quantify it, right, you can do many things, okay? You can actually measure out the water left, but for Raghu, he's just going to take the easy way out by looking at the height of the container. Okay, so that means right, he's just going to mark the from here to here, 5 cm, from here to here, 10 cm. So he would mark it out because at the very start, all of the water looks like it's filled to the brim with oil on top. So you would know that the water level is the same. Okay, so that's the constant variable first. And then after that, he's going to measure the height of the water in a container after a few days. So this is one way to count. There's many ways to do the measured variable, but they all point to the same thing, which is now to find out how much water is being absorbed by the plant, okay? So in this case here, we have x, and x seem to remain the same throughout. Okay, now that this one actually went down, and this one went decreased the lowest. Okay, and they never actually tell you which container it is. Okay, but over here, if you are in, hello, you can actually also come and just say hello. I can always pin you in. And sorry, I just realized that it's very small, right? My face is very big. Don't need to see my face. It's gonna make it bigger. Okay, so I hope that you still have the paper. Now here, okay, we know that container A, I mean there's no plant, right? So it should remain exactly the same. So I'm just gonna write A at the side. Okay, you all must learn how to read graph. Must. Okay, and a quick one over here, right? This is definitely your change variable, and this is definitely your measured variable. Okay, and over here we compare. We know that if there is less roots, it's going to take in less water. So C is here, followed by B. Do you all get that? Okay, not that the question asked, because I removed parts of the question. I just wanted to bring in the most commonly tested part. So this one, they will actually ask you like, which one represents maybe container C. Then maybe you will say, oh, it's line Y. Then you explain why. Okay, so currently, right, over here, this fair test question, right, there is a way to answer it. And I don't know why students, when they give me the answer, right, they're just, oh, because there's so that, there's only one change variable. Lor. Then I'm like, huh? Only one change variable is fair test? Yes, we tell you that in primary 3 and primary 4. Because it's very difficult to write out the whole formula, right? We can't tell the P3 student that. For me, I teach my P3 student that. Okay, so yeah, but if you carry the same writing habit to the P6, right, you'll realize that your answer is incomplete. Okay, so what you want to do, right, is to think about what this layer of oil does. Now, this layer of oil, right, to all container, you already know that that is a constant variable. Okay, so some students, I don't know, teachers, I just heard recently, somebody wrote like VS, like variable same. That one teacher actually wrote it like that, but I don't know. I'm just gonna call it constant variable. I mean, I could spell, but I'm just gonna write conv. Okay, you all have to follow along. Okay, so in this case here, we have constant variable layer of oil. What does this layer of oil actually do for the um? What does this variable actually do for the experiment? Okay. Today's viewer is either very silent or I cannot see the comments. Can you all say hi? Say hi to me. I want to see if you are commenting. You can also type out the answer in the comments. Then your answer, right, would be posted here. So like if I say like hi, just like that. See, it can actually go up here like that. Can you see? Okay, so you can use the chat. Don't be shy. Alright, now back to this. So layer of oil here, right, represents evaporation. Is to prevent evaporation. So we know that it prevents evaporation, right? How are we going to write it back into an answer? You want to always use the fair test formula. I cannot emphasize on this enough. Okay, because when you talk about experiment, definitely you need to mention change variable, measured variable, and constant variable. Okay, so I will always write it like that to ensure that blank. This blank here is measured variable. So to ensure that your measured variable is only affected by your change variable, okay, and not the thing that you're supposed to keep the same. Okay, so this one here, right, you don't want evaporation to be a variable that affect how much water is left. So you don't want evaporation here. So and not the evaporation of water. So constant variable is here. So if I were to pen everything down, right, all I really had to do is to copy back in. So to ensure that the height of the water for after a few days, okay, is only affected by the change variable, which is the number of roots. Now I'm going to start doodling in this paper, but I'll write down the answer for you. And not the evaporation of water. Can you see that? Okay, so in this case here, don't write and not the layer of oil. Okay, so the layer of oil doesn't mean anything. The layer of oil is here to prevent evaporation, so you should write it down instead. So here, right, let's actually pen down everything. So to ensure that the height of the water level in the container after a few days. Okay, so this is my measured variable. Okay, and it's only affected by the number of roots. Okay, so they call it number of roots, you call it number of roots. If they call it amount, then you call it amount. Okay, so number of roots on the plant and not the evaporation of water from the container. Okay, so this makes a lot of sense. So, right, you don't just talk about the layer of oil blindly, but rather you see how this layer of oil is going to help prevent evaporation so that this can be measured by that and not this. Can you see that? Okay, great. So I'll just read the answer one more time to ensure that the height of the water level in the container after a few days is only affected by the number of roots on the plant and not the evaporation of water from the container. Perfect, 2 marks. Okay, so when it comes to experiment-based question, which is what this is, experiment-based question, they can come up with any unique experiment example in your exam. Okay, and all you have to do, you don't even need to know about the concept, but all you need to do is to understand the experimental setup, in this case, Ragu's experiment, and then formulate what should be kept the same, what do you change, and what do you measure. And then they can ask you a question like this. Okay, so yes. Now moving on. Okay, so if you're still here, thank you. We have a few questions to go, so bear with me. Now over here, next question. Now, if you haven't copy finished, it's really okay because after this, it will be posted on the Facebook, posted on the YouTube, and you can always watch back this recording. You can see my face again. Now, next one over here. Danny said an experiment. So this question, right, again, like 90% of students get it wrong. Why? So another experiment now, you have want to find out if the number of leaves affect the amount of water absorbed. So it's like almost the same as blood group, but now you change the variable. Now it's about leaves. Okay, so over here, right, at the what is the purpose of x? Now you can always, right, just do x, y versus z. This could work too. You can just have like, oh look, there is 6 leaves, and oh look, there's 3 leaves, half of the leaves. And then after that, you measure the amount of water left in the container after a few days. You could do that, but what is the baseline? So like, how much water, how much water is definitely absorbed compared to the baseline? So of course here your baseline is going to be 300. Now, if this experiment didn't have a layer of oil, then X would be even more important because, right, if they all evaporate the same way, because in the same place, same exposed surface area, same amount of wind, okay, if there's no layer of oil, then X again will provide that baseline. If let's say X lost 20 ml of water, you'll know that that 20 ml of water did not get absorbed by the plant. Okay, but anyway, this one they prevented that by adding a layer of oil. So this actually shows that it is 300 and nothing but 300 even after the end of the experiment. Okay, so here, right, in this case, I hope you have caught it. It's actually a control setup. If you didn't catch this, you will have trouble answering this. So you'll be like, what's that? Okay, and control setup, right? For me, I always tell my students it comes with a formula again because this whole question is an experiment-based question. So in that case here, I first call it the CCC formula. So control setup is to compare and confirm if change variable, compare and confirm measured variable affected by change variable. That's it. So your formula looks like this. X is a control setup to ensure that goodness, not ensure. To compare, so C, compare and confirm that your measured variable is only affected by change variable. That's it. Doesn't even mention constant variable because that's not the reason. This is not about constant variable. So I also see students that write fair test formula in here. No. Okay, because this is just there for you to compare against your experimental setup. So these two, right, can you write down? This is considered your experimental setup. Okay, can? So here we have, again, right, I'm not going to write it, measured variable is how much water it absorbed, but you don't write it, you write how much water the plant absorbed, only affected by the number of leaves of a plant. That's it. So your key for formula is the CCC formula. Can or not? Alright. Only you? No, only you that is talking. Hi, Wendy. Okay, so no problem. Now we do have some viewers here. Just that, yeah, you are my first comment for some reason. You're so shy, right? So don't be shy. Please also type down your answer. Okay, I know the answers are wrong, but yes, feel free to ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. As long as I'm live, I can answer you. Most of the time we are live. Now, next one over here, let's move on. Now, standard, right? This question cannot be more standard than this, isn't it? You see this, like, oh, that question again. Yes, it's 2 marks. Can you get your 2 marks? Now, for me, right, I always, it is two things, right? This one is boiling, right? So, if it's boiling, then it is, even though there's no bubble, you should, here, right, will most likely be steam. Okay, but if let's say they never say it's boiling, they just say heat source, but you still see bubbles in the water, it is still considered boiling. Okay, now what else? But along the way, even if it doesn't boil, right, you already have, as long as it gain a little bit of heat, that means, right, your water from 30 degrees Celsius gain heat to 35 degrees Celsius, there's a chance, okay, that the first layer of water will still evaporate into water vapor because it gained heat. Okay, whereas boiling, right, is something that takes place throughout the water. So that means it doesn't matter where you touch, like the surface of water, oh, 100 degrees Celsius. At the middle of the water, also 100 degrees Celsius, at the bottom also 100. So boiling takes place throughout the entire water, whereas evaporation only takes place on the surface. Evaporation only takes place if it can be in contact with air. So we can tell, right, that this part here is in contact with air, this part here will evaporate. And with higher temperature, evaporation is higher as well. Okay, so standard question, how are water droplets formed on the metal tray? All you need to do is to tell me. You can tell me steam, you can tell me warmer water vapor. Okay, so but you look at the context of the question again. He placed a metal tray above it, right? Is when it boiled, then he put the tray there. So right, instead of wild cat love chicken wing, which is my formula, it's now stray cats love chicken wing. Okay, so now the stray cats, there's many cats. So we have steam comes into contact with cooler surface of metal tray. Okay, then the other one is love chicken wings. The love, right, is very important. If not, it's just stray cat chicken wing, it doesn't make sense. Love is lose heat, comma, condense. Usually I say lose heat and condense into water droplets. Now, if it's misty, then you just write tiny water droplets, but that's not it. You can see water droplets here. So that's it. This is 2 marks, just like that. Okay? If not, right, you could also say warmer water vapor comes into contact with cooler surface of metal tray, but because it's boiling, you have to change it to steam. Now, that's one part of the answer. Where did the steam come from? You just need to explain where did the steam come from because of boiling, right? So when the water boils, the water gain heat and gain heat until it changes states from liquid to gas. Okay, so here is one thing. Okay, if you want to say can change, it boils and turn into steam, I think that's okay. But now I just want to say that, hey, it changed state. So here, your gas is the steam and it's going to trigger wildcat love chicken wings. Can you see that? Okay, so I'm going to stop here. The other one is just water gain heat and change into water vapor, then warmer water vapor comes in the steam. Okay, so remember, right, the word warmer water vapor has to be in if it's about water vapor. Okay, so you either do water vapor or steam. That's it. Kayan, hello. So water vapor comes into contact with metal tray. a cooler surface of metal tray is important. Okay, loose heat condensed water droplets can. Okay, so now next. Over here, right, can you put a star? So suggest and explain how he can collect more water in Petri dish Y for the same duration of the experiment. Okay, so over here, you want to collect more water, but let's say this whole experiment takes 30 minutes. In 30 minutes time, you want to have even more water in Petri dish. Why, right? What is the tested focus? Do you all know? It's not just about this anymore because you write this right, then you'll be writing the same thing twice, which means that even though it's about condensation, it is one very specific thing about condensation. What do we have? Yes, okay, we shall put out the suggestion first. Yes, is to add ice in the tray. You already know that. Okay, but how will you explain that? Because suggestion is add ice in the tray. That's suggest. But how to explain? You need to know the tested focus first. Let's see. Increase the heat of the candle. Hello. Hello. Hi. Are you a student? Are you which level are you at? Okay, primary 3, primary 4, primary 5, primary 6. Okay, so increase the heat of the candle is a little bit harder because it is already because what it's gonna do is that it will boil first. So still no. Okay, adding ice is better. Adding ice cube is better. Okay, let's just take a look. Yes, Sophie, very good. Temperature difference. So tray lose more heat. No, it doesn't lose more heat, rather it lose heat faster. So I'm so glad that we are talking about this today. Okay, if not, then you see all your answers a little bit different, right? So temperature difference is the closest. So you do need to talk about this. Now, what is the tested focus, right? You all need to write down rate of condensation. Means how fast can condensation take place. So right, you want to do this. Okay, so adding ice cube is going to do what? Okay, so it's going to increase the temperature difference between the cooler metal tray and I'm just going to keep the steam and the steam. Okay, so what do we mean? At first, right, you have room temperature metal tray, which is 30 degrees Celsius, versus 100 degrees Celsius, the temperature difference is 70. But if you were to add ice and the ice melts and gets the tray, you expect that your tray is closer to 0 degrees Celsius. So 100 minus 0 is still 100. So the temperature difference, right, suddenly is 100 degrees. Whereas just now the temperature difference was only 70 degrees Celsius. So in that case, right, if you increase the temperature difference, all you need to write, right, you don't need to write all this again. No, 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 that would be too long of an answer. You just go straight to the point. Thus, the rate of condensation increases, causing, then you just wrap up your answer, more water droplets to form on the metal tray, which will, again, collect, right, drip into Petri dish Y. Can you see that? Okay, so here are your answers. A three-part answer. Okay, but I can find 4 points. Add ice, temperature difference, rate of condensation increase, more water droplets form on the metal tray. Water vapor to tiny water droplets. Remember that tiny water droplets is for mist and fog only. Okay, now just a quick one before we go. Now I only left with like one question that I hope you all can remember how to write the answer. Okay, so now you are primary 6, right? During our September holiday, please note that we are having our last sprint, which is chapter 3 of our Trilogy PSLE Science Success Bootcamp. Okay, so we have already done experiment-based questions. We have done all the higher order thinking questions. So what is last sprint about? Last sprint is the trending question of PSLE Science question from the past 15 years. So the question that always come out, right? We are talking about it. Okay, so something like this Facebook Live, but more comprehensive, because we're not just picking out like questions that come out in school. We are also looking at the PSLE questions that are grouped together by topics that you keep on seeing. So hopefully, right, that if you keep seeing such questions, right, you'll be more comfortable to do that kind of question in PSLE with the correct words. Am I right? Okay, so it is still skewed towards open-ended answering technique. Okay, so this one over here, we will also do revision along the way. Now, what's up with this? So now, if you have already signed up for Trilogy, thank you very much. You all had the very, very early bird discount, good for you. Now, if you haven't signed up for anything before and you want to join us, okay, you haven't signed up for the like with other workshops, right now, right, the solo workshop is 278 it's 2 days, so 1:30 to 5:30 on both days. And then math is the other 2 days. So math, what are they doing? If I'm not wrong, they're doing rate, they're doing volume. So the kind of questions that always stump students, that's what we want to cover on, because PSL is so near, right? Okay, so well, there is a promotion going on for bundle deal, because why not? Okay, and yeah, if you want to sign up, you should do so. Just take note that for PSLE, we're doing a webinar, whereas for math, you can choose to come in person. That will be at our main branch at Gold Hill Center. Okay, and then yes, we are still doing this. Now today is me. Last week was Joven, teacher Joven. Oops. Okay, and you will see the rest of the trainers as we go by. We are doing commonly tested questions, okay, to help you along with your exams. Okay, so those of you prelim over already, WA over already, I know holidays are coming up, but we are gearing towards year-end exams. Okay, we during PSLE marking day, we do for the P3 to P5, we do have bootcamp. We do have end of year revision, intensive revision program. We do that every year. That's our signature program. And if you are worried and you want to really see whether you can finish a 1 hour 45 minutes paper as a P3 to as a P4 and P5 student, you can come for our mock exam, and then we will go through on 2 days. Okay, so yeah, that is for September and October. Fun stuff. Okay, so let's see whether anyone has any questions for me. Okay, so what time, which one, which level are you at? You are looking at which level for Facebook name Wendy Liang? Answer in a bit. Okay, so now over here, right, last one over here. Thank you for still sticking around. Hopefully you're learning something from me. Okay, math, later I show you. Okay, so over here, right, this is a standard question. Can you answer or not? Okay, the question is very, very subjective, because right, currently I write the most vague one for 2 marks. Sometimes you might be lucky, it might be a 1 mark question because they already tell you the result. But currently, right, over here, according to TCR, your only clue is teeth. Process of digestion is your result, and they didn't tell you. So if you didn't tell you, you need to define how good this is, which means that you're going to bring out a 4-part answer. Sometimes they will phrase it like that. Explain how the teeth help with faster digestion. I think you don't need to write so much, because we already know, in the end it's faster. But for this kind of question, because they didn't say, you're going to go all out, and I'm going to present to you the words that you need to write. Okay, so teeth, remember, teeth is like a knife. It doesn't digest food. It only make it smaller. Okay, so the difference between simpler substances and smaller pieces, you all cannot mix up. No, cannot mix up. Okay, so simpler substances, right, is so simple that your body can use it. Okay, for primary 5, primary 6 students here, use it for respiration. Whereas smaller pieces, right, cannot be used by the body. It's small only, but it cannot be transported around the body to be used, to be released as energy, or that, no, cannot. Okay, so you can think of it like this. If I have raw chicken, okay, you should never eat raw chicken, by the way. Okay, I use a knife and slice up the raw chicken. Is the chicken cooked? Can the chicken be eaten? Absolutely not. Okay, so it can't be used by the body. So what you need to do is to throw it in the pan, add oil, coat it, add heat, okay, add fire, and then cook your chicken, and then you can eat it. Right, so same for your teeth. Teeth is just a knife. So over here, right, my first part of the answer, you want to say that the teeth breaks, sorry, you can say chew food to break food down into smaller pieces. Okay, that's the first answer. Now, why must it be smaller pieces? Why not just swallow an entire apple whole? Why not? Okay, it's not why not, it's because your body needs to have faster rate of digestion, which is later. So this one over here, right, has everything to do with your digestive juices. Now I see some student, right, because teeth, right, you can write saliva, no need. Because, right, remember, right, your saliva is one kind of digestive juices. Your stomach has another kind, your small intestine has another kind. You actually only learn this in biology, like maybe Sec 3. But for now, right, we just everything blanket, we call it digestive juices, and then we only identify one, which is our saliva. Right, so there's no need to write saliva. All you need to do is to write increases the exposed surface area. Now, don't stop here. Exposed surface area of what? Of the food. Don't stop here. In contact with digestive juice. So that means, right, the digestive juice must touch the food. And if it's smaller, there's more parts of the digestive juice touching the food. Okay, and then what else do you write? You write 2 more points. Then the 1 point would be rate of digestion increases and process of digestion, right? And close it. Food breaks down into simpler substance. What am I saying? Time taken for food to break down into simpler substances okay, so how much time? So instead of taking like 1 week to digest 1 apple, you only take 2 hours. That's the idea there. So time taken actually decreases. So you see, right, what's happening? I have teeth chew food into smaller pieces. Am I right? Okay, so ESA increase, digestion, rate of digestion increase, time taken decreases. So this would be the fullest answer that you can give depending on how vague the question. Of course, if the question say, how does the teeth help with rate of digestion? Then you stop here will do, because it's just talking about rate of digestion. But if they never mention anything, right, then you also talk about time taken. Can or not? Okay, so I hope I was able to paint once and for all, paint a good picture on how to answer this question. Because it's 2 marks. And it's 2 marks that never changes. The function of teeth never changes. So the answers here will always be the same. Okay, alright, so yes, sambal chicken rice. Now you're making me very hungry. I just had a light dinner. Maybe I'm gonna eat something again later. Hey, but my digestive system has already digested my early dinner. I already break down my early dinner into simpler substances. Okay, all right. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining me. All right. So again, I'm Ms Sayuri. Okay, I teach primary 3 to primary 6. So I'll see you when I see you. And next week we are still having Facebook Live. We'll still cover common mistakes. Okay, commonly tested questions. You see another trainer come up live today, like today. Okay, so again, right, last sprint is coming up for my P6 students here. It's basically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Monday and Tuesday science, Wednesday and Thursday math. Okay, it is going to be 1:30 to 5:30 because we know that you might need to go back to school. So that's why our workshop start a little bit later for last sprint. It's always like that every year. Okay, and then for your for P45, if you want, okay, I do recommend this. You can actually take a full paper, because all this while, right, your WA 1, 2, 3 is so short. Only your paper is upon 30, your paper is upon 20. Come on, right? So full paper means your paper is upon 100. Can you even finish the paper? And if you do finish the paper, can you do it well? Right? So this is a good gauge, because we are going to do exam setting. It's a very stressful one. You go in, right, you can feel the vibe of the uh, examination hall kind of feeling. Okay, so we will be giving our P4 and P5 a time invigilated exam. Okay, and then after that we will mark it, we will diagnose it, we will give you back a report, and we'll go through on 15th September. Okay, right, so that's all from me. Okay, if there's any questions, please leave it down in the comment. I'll reply later. Right, and yeah, have a good rest. Okay, take note of all this. I cannot get wrong really. Okay, okay, today I picked out means you're gonna get it right for exam. Got it? Okay, great. Thank you. Right, bye bye.